I've had my Tesla for over 2 weeks now, and still the novelty is about the same as when I initially purchased it. I find myself doing a lot more driving than previously, as it's now something I very much relish. I've always had a home business and never had a boss, and as a result, I'm fortunate enough to very rarely ever have to negotiate with rush hour traffic. And I live in a city where it's nowhere near as bad as others. The other day, well, I wasn't even in rush hour, just more people out and about, likely due to the holidays starting and Christmas shopping, but there was a bit of traffic. I put my car on autopilot and simply did not care about the traffic. The starting, the stopping, the stress of being in a slower lane, the other drivers not paying attention, all those concerns simply vanished. My daughter was next to me playing solitaire on the screen, and if I had FSD and it was eventually a level I didn't need to concentrate on the road, then I could have played chess with her whilst we were driving or being driven. But either way, she was entertained and I was also a lot more relaxed about it all. I don't really do well in traffic, or soul-crushing traffic as Elon calls it. I find it too stressful and such a waste of time, which is why I aim to avoid it as much as I can. But I say to you all again, FSD is the future, and now I'm starting to think that it really will be essential for every driver. If you disagree with me, I'm only going to give you credibility if you actually own a Tesla and have FSD. And for those of you who claim to be such a driver and want to be in control, then I think you're simply wrong. I'm a driver. I've owned a lot of driver's cars, like the cliche driver's car, a BMW M3. I enjoy driving, but it's not fun in traffic. People respond to this claim like it's binary, either FSD or not FSD. Well, just because you have FSD doesn't mean you have to use it all the time. Sure, there may be some great highways or windy country roads that are just too fun you want to drive them yourself. But it's all the remainder of the time when you're in said soul-crushing traffic when you want to use it, which is likely the majority of the time. And it's not just that you don't have to drive yourself, but it's also the fact that you'll be able to be so much more productive with your time, like playing chess with your children, for example. You can have valuable family time, which might be something that you're often too distracted at home to do as often. But if you're stuck in a car together, then you can make the most of it and do more family activities. And obviously the app side of Tesla is very underwhelming relative to what it could become. Imagine if there were games like Monopoly that you could all play in the car together if you're going on a road trip somewhere. This is incredibly valuable alone. I know most of my videos about how Tesla compared to the competition are about simply how much less it costs Tesla to make their EVs relative to everyone else. And then despite costing significantly less, they're so much quicker and have so much more range that I barely ever get into the FSD or supercharger competitive advantages. But experiencing just autopilot more and more firsthand, I'm starting to really appreciate how big a deal this is. Even when the other cars are approved for self-driving on highways or whatever, similar to Mercedes looking like they're getting approval in Germany, well, so what? What are you going to do? Just look at your phone while you're being driven? The entertainment that Tesla already has is outstanding compared to the competition. But like I said, this app side of Tesla has barely begun, as it can barely be utilized yet, due to FSD not being feature complete as of yet. Tesla have perhaps 20 plus hours of attention of each and every one of their customers every single month. Do you realize how valuable that is? The customer can't go anywhere. They're stuck in front of that screen. I've touched on this in the past, but there is so much more going on for Tesla. It's hard to cover it all. It's just so much of a company in so many areas, and their cars are just continually mind-blowing. Also, you know how cars have center armrests in the front and the middle? Well, Tesla has comfortable armrests on the sides too. I've had some luxurious European cars, but I can't recall having double armrests quite like this before. When the car hits higher levels of autonomy, you can just simply relax more with both arms rested in these comfortable vegan leather seats. And they are comfortable, although I still have yet to do a road trip. Now, I have the Model 3 Performance, which is about 315 miles of range, compared to 267 miles of range for the standard version. Okay, granted, I don't live in a city with much in the way of charging networks, but I don't really have far to travel in and out of the city either. But I would have to say, I'm not sure I'd like a car with only around 200 miles of range, or the low 200s. Even when charging becomes faster and there are more chargers, it's still going to be a major hassle. To be honest, I'm dreading even having to go back to a gas station ever again. It feels like such a waste of time, not to mention how expensive they are too. So much inconvenience and hassle. It's going to be looked back on like the hassle of having to feed your horse and all the other associated hassles of owning a horse before there were cars. There is no going back. But like I said, I only drive in and out of the city. If I had to do longer road trips on highways to other cities, perhaps 100 miles of driving some days, I just don't think I would want the hassle of having to charge, or the worry and stress of my battery approaching under 10% charge. I think mid 200s to 300 miles of range is going to be necessary for a lot of drivers. It's a hassle having to charge. If you have a 300-mile range car or more, then sure, you will need to charge on a road trip, but you need to recharge yourselves anyway. You need breaks for rest areas, and a lot of these charging facilities will become more of a destination themselves. The UK actually has great rest areas, and my English viewers will know what I mean. When you stop off on the motorway to fill up with some gas, or petrol as they say, and then they have a nice Marks & Spencer food shop for you. I mean, it would be easy to pass 10 to 15 minutes to recharge your car, just getting some food, but I'd only really want to do this on road trips when I have to. I find a lot of value in the convenience of not having to go to gas stations anymore. I wouldn't want to lose this convenience if I had a low-range EV. But that's just me, speaking from my experience. Perhaps some people are more accepting, and some people have no choice, as they may not even have the option of a charger in their place of residence. I'm sure some of these lower-range vehicles will have a market, but I think their market would be to undercut Tesla by quite a bit on price. The Bolt and Nissan Leaf are able to do this, but the Chinese not so much. The Chinese are somewhat stunted in the way of range, I believe. It will be very hard to get a lot more range for them out of LFP batteries. By the time they possibly do, well, Tesla would have their compact ramped up anyway, which just undercuts and outperforms everything relative. But that's just my opinion. And my opinion on Tesla has evolved over the year of doing this channel. Starting off with the aim of being objective about the industry. The more research I do, the more experience I get, the more analysis, I realise more and more what an incredible job Tesla have really done. If this has just turned me into one of the most bullish, biggest fanboys on the web, then I can't really help it. It's just how I see the company. But I see other EV review channels out there who think they are being objective by humouring the others for their efforts. I do try and look at the competitors without my Tesla blinders on, but numbers don't lie. Tesla is always obliterating any of their efforts. Okay, perhaps with the exception of Lucid, they have some good numbers, but perhaps a little too good if you ask me. I haven't gone into any great depth on Lucid yet, but those numbers stick out a bit for me, which raises some red flags. I mean, I am in no way worried about Lucid as a competitor to Tesla. They are a minute fraction of the market, and I doubt they could even ramp up as fast as Rivian, i.e. less than 1 million vehicles a year by 2030, so it's of no concern as a Tesla investor. It just looks a little suspicious. Anyway, still very happy with my Tesla purchase and still starting to realise just what a truly amazing car this is. Very few EVs on the market today even have LiDAR built in, so won't be offering much in the way of self-driving, let alone the entertainment to accompany it. I think this is still something a lot of people have not gotten their heads around. Just like in the early days when people hadn't gotten their heads around how superior EVs are to ICE, it takes a while until something finally clicks in their heads. Some people get it a lot quicker than others. The sooner you get it, the sooner you can invest in such a company. Just like the iPhone with Apple, and how revolutionary all the accompanying apps became. But sure, there'll be plenty of comments that tell me they won't use FSD, or Tesla will never crack FSD. Tesla haven't fully incorporated Dojo yet. They're not using their full power to crack this, and it's already so good. I think the next 2 to 3 years will see such step changes in an already mind-blowing product. And Tesla have tons of customers simply happy to go and do all the beta testing for them, for free. Anyway, there is no product I could have bought that brings me this much joy. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.